welcome
to
Authors Anonymous
podcast
with A.R. Mirabal
and Carolyn Rosa Pops.
Oh, this is, I guess, our second video, technically our first real episode. Our last episode, we just kind of gave an introduction. Well, I gave an introduction of myself. AR did not, but it's fine.
I gave enough information, I believe.
All you need to know is that his book is getting published tomorrow. So that's what's important.
June 21st, 2021. Remember our release dates, lady.
Yeah, but so that'll be out. Well, by the time this gets published, it'll have been out for a day.
Yes, definitely.
But this video, kind of going back to the beginning, we wanted to establish really the difference between self-publishing and traditional publishing. I mean, the name in and of itself is kind of obvious, but there's some pros and cons of each, especially if you are starting to write a book. You might be wondering which route is best for you. And that's really what it is. It's what's best for you. It's not like one is necessarily or inherently better than the other one. It's just what you prefer. Some of the ideas I got are from my editor, because when I came to her, I didn't know if I wanted to do self-publishing or traditional publishing. So she gave me a list. So we're going to go off of that plus of our own insight. And we both decided to go with self-publishing anyways, but we thought it'd be good just to mention both of them, and then probably the rest of the videos will be based off self-publishing, since that's what we're going with.
Yeah, so basically our opinion is going to be a little bit biased because we're both going the self-publishing route, but we thought it would be fair to give, traditional publishing, like it's fair, moment in the sun for the first episode and kind of give the pros and cons of what each are going to do. So without further ado, I'm going to let Carolyn go right into it, and we're going to go off our topics, pros and cons of each. Carolyn.
So for the pros for self-publishing, I think kind of right off the bat, one of the most obvious ones is that you have complete creative control. It's yours. So you get the final say in everything, from the writing to the design, and then to where you want to publish, to how much you want to publish, even how much you want to market. So that's what I'll say for the pro, because we'll get into it. It can lead into a con, but I don't want to go on too much of a tangent right now. But definitely the creative control is the fun part. It's completely yours. It's your baby. It's completely you. And I think that's something that's really special. But do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, it is the closest thing, unless you are a parent and have had a child. But before that, it is the closest thing to you having a child, truly. I mean, it is your baby, everything about it. One of the first realizations that I had when I realized it was my book is that I wrote my own copyright page. 20 years ago, that would have been a full position paid by a lawyer at a publishing house, that I now basically just got rid of that entire position for my book. I wrote my own. Did I Google it? Yeah. Did I actually write most of it? No. But that's what you got to do. All right.
Yeah.
Like it just, every part about it is mine. Like every single part about it. We talked about it that when we write our dedications, it's going to say me MF on it, because I mean, it's all on you. Even when you have to go and outsource other artists and other, creatives and professionals, it's still on you. You're the one choosing it.
Right. So I think, it's really, it's amazing when you get to see your work completely when it's done, and you're like, I 100% did that. And if you've ever been in a group project with somebody and you did all of the work, but everybody got an A, it's kind of
you're there in the corner, all right, yeah.
Right. It's like that haha moment. So I just think that, having that freedom and that independence, especially we were talking about this too. I think a lot of writers are like those black sheeps. So when you get to do your own thing and have it truly be yours, I think it just means so much more to you. So that's definitely, and whatever, we'll get into the cons, but having the final say in how you want your book to go, I think is huge. Because can you imagine writing and then somebody is like, oh no, but you can't do this, and there's nothing you can do about it? Like, I would be so angry. My book wouldn't feel like it's completely mine then. It just takes away then from writing a book. It's like, well, did you write it or did you plus 50 other people? So yeah, pro number one, the creative control.
Without a doubt.
And then the other
it rolls into the second point, which is the whole thing that you get to choose your team. Right. Which, I mean, again, I mentioned it a little bit with the first pro. I keep on forgetting to move my hand with it. It will get better, I promise you. But the whole thing is that you get to choose your own team, the entire team, the editing team, your editor, and just, fair warning, there are sharks in the water. Not every editor is going to be, I can't even name the name of a great editor, but like they're not all going to be great. And some of them are going to charge you the same amount of money as a person that would charge like half of that for way better work. I mean, it goes back and forth, but it's on you. You get to make that decision. There's nobody that comes and holds your hand about it. It's completely yours. And that also goes with the cover, that goes with everything. And to talk about Carolyn's point that she made a little bit before, imagine that you give your book to somebody else, and now they're going to tell you, oh, well, we're going to put a rose because that's like trending right now. It's like, no, I want to put a robot doing the breakdance as, slipping a Coca-Cola. That's what I want. That's my vision. And, you can get hamstringed, but with self-publishing, that's all on you. You can find the art. You can find your favorite artist to do that. The favorite person on Instagram that's like making your favorite art. You can contact them directly and they will give you a fee and you will work with that.
And that's the beauty too, like kind of going off what you're saying about the fee or the artwork. If you like one person's editing style, you can choose to go with that editor. But if somebody else is offering you at a lower price and they give you great work, you have that option to go with a lower price. Or if you're like, you know what, I'm my own designer, so I can spend more money on an editor. You get to have like those boundaries that you can set for yourself and where you want to spend money and how much. So again, it kind of fits into the creative control in an extended form with working with who you want. In a traditional publishing house, and we'll get there, but just real quick, like you're stuck with them. So it's not as much freeway. And being able to like network and meet new people, that's all part of the fun in self-publishing too. It's literally how me and AR met. He invited me on his podcast, and now we made this podcast. And he's asked me questions about his blurb. I've asked him questions about world making. And it's so nice to actually connect with other artists. As a human, we strive for that connection. So that kind of is something else that can blossom in self-publishing as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Agree.
Yeah. And I think that rolls out well into the third pro for self-publishing. Want to drop it on them?
The royalties. So again, kind of going off like the money where you pick and choose how much you want to spend on this or that. In terms of money, self-publishing, you get more royalties, especially in the long run. Typically, places where you decide to publish your book, you get more back. Yeah. So that's kind of nice. It definitely is nice. One of the cons I will get to is that it still can be expensive, but you almost are guaranteed to make that money back, or at least most of it. And the thing too, like once your book is out there, it's out there for life. People are going to continuously buy it. So like it's just money, the passive income at that point.
Yeah, without a single doubt. The whole thing about the royalties, that not only do you control every aspect of what the royalties are. I mean, when you go through Amazon, when you go through Instagram, when you go through every platform that you want in order to put your book out there to the public, they give you plans. These are things that normally, you would trade it off to an accountant and they would tell you, and they would just, choose whatever is best for them, to be honest. But you have complete financial freedom and control over every aspect of your book. That means that if you're doing your due diligence with marketing, which is a huge kind of like thing, that's where a little bit of the analogy of you got to make money to get money comes in, because you have to market it in order for it to be in people's faces in order for people to respond to it and people for want to buy it. It's like that's the ultimate goal. But as Carolyn said, at least breaking even is pretty common. At least breaking even, where on the traditional published side, that is not necessarily the case.
Yeah, but I mean, even breaking even, but then still having that complete creative control that we talked about, you still won, because then you have the best of both worlds. You didn't spend a dime, and you have this thing that you spent so much work on, and it's out there. And I think seriously, long term, you're eventually going to get more money anyways, because the book is going to be out there. It's going to stay out there. People are going to continue to buy it as long as you keep promoting it or whatever. It's not a bad investment. I mean, it's not like buying a house, but it's an investment. I mean, definitely.
You know what? I actually really think that's like a really, really great point, because imagine the latter, where you get a traditional published book, they strip it down, like it went from your baby to their baby now. Right. And then that goes, and like you have like that feeling of like, oh crap, I just got sidelined, but you know what, I'm gonna make more money, and then it doesn't make that money back. Like, just imagine that. Yeah, you don't have what your finished product was envisioned as, and on top of that, you still got to pay back money, as opposed to like you went and you made your full vision. Again, not to like go too deep into my book, but Allegory of the End, who knows what I'll make back on it, but it is exactly how I envisioned it 7 years ago, exactly to a T.
In a way, you can almost tell, because it's like the amount of work that you put in. Usually, you can expect that back. I think traditional publishing, and we'll get to that in just a minute. In a way, there's more gambles with all of that, but with self-publishing, it falls on you. So like you decide, what do you want to do with it? And if there's losses, there's no one to blame but yourself. So like to me, that's better than having all this pent up anger towards somebody else and nothing can be done about it. At the end of the day, you're the only one to blame, or you're the only one to applaud for. So it's all you. And I think like ownership is a great thing in life in general. So yeah, I think self-publishing is it's a very, independent is the right word for it. I don't know, helps with your independence and your creativity.
That's a good one. So you think that indie publishing is independent?
Yeah.
Good one, Care. Knocking them out.
I know, it's all up here. I don't know.
That's an A+ writer.
But there are some cons with self-publishing, of course, as well.
Yeah, and that's a perfect lead in too, because like it really is like a mental battle. It's almost like golf. Like it's not easy to be able to take all that mental weight and like understanding that it really is all your fault. I mean, if everybody on the planet had that feeling of like everything is my fault, we wouldn't have like wars and all this bullshit. Like it's a natural human thing to want to like blame other people for shit. So like it's not easy. There are definitely cons to doing this as well.
Yeah, and one of them is like that it is yours. For as great as it is, it's a lot of work, because you do have to seek out all of that, like whatever your editor, the illustrator, publisher, marketing team, if you want, like, so a lot of it does fall on you. But again, that's only what you make it. Like I had my one friend's brother published a book, and he literally like wrote it, spent $60 on an editor, and uploaded it to Amazon, and that was it. He made it as simple for himself as I've ever heard. And then there's people who are doing the absolute most in terms of marketing and the illustrations. I mean, AR is probably one of them who like does a lot. And it's not like one is good or bad, but it can be a lot of work. And typically, I think we strive to do the most for ourselves, especially with our book, because we feel like we definitely have something to prove, that we want it to be good enough, if that's the right word. So there can be like that mental strain, definitely, that comes along with self-publishing. Actually, there is definitely mental strain, not probably, it will happen.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, the whole thing that it's all on you, there is a huge con, because I can't tell you, especially when you get into it and when you're like just going off for the first time, there's so many things that you don't even expect to be a problem until they are a problem.
Right.
Like I think Care was one of the first people that I talked to when I realized that I thought my book was 100% done, but then I forgot that I need to convert it into EPUB. And I thought there was no problem. I thought that was going to be a 10-15 minute process.
No.
Half hour later, I got like at least 10 more gray hairs right on my noggin. Just immediate stress. So like things like that, just it's hard to. It's almost one of the things why I wanted to talk so much about the tips and tricks of what I wish I knew, because there are so many things that I just wish I knew from the beginning. And if I had known it from the beginning, it would have saved me so much headache later on. And that's all a part of the self-publishing thing that you literally just don't know. And even that, I'm on the point of publishing now. Now I'm going to have to conquer the beast of marketing. Marketing doesn't stop right after the book is released. It continues after if you want it to be successful. Like Carolyn said, it's progressive payment. You want that residue coming in regardless. So you have to be promoting it even a year after. Even something simple, a quick little like, you know, Instagram post of like you holding it or a friend holding it, some shit. You got to keep going. You got to keep it going. And again, in addition, it's all on you.
Yeah. But again, that's the pro and it's a con. So that's up to the person. If you're someone who thrives in obstacles or challenges, like, then you might really enjoy self-publishing. You really might like taking on that project and like working with it. But if you're someone who like, you know, it like doesn't and can only handle so much stress, or you're like, I mean, I don't know, because that could be anybody's breaking point, but you might just consider traditional publishing, and we'll get to those pros. But another con too with self-publishing is that for as much work as you put in, it can get very expensive, especially right up front. You might make more royalties in the long run, or the flip side of it, but up front, you're spending more money on the editor. If you decide to hire a marketing team, if you don't want to do it yourself, if you want to hire a graphic designer, again, it's all your choice, but you know, that's not cheap. And especially because you do want the best for your book, typically, I mean, then expect to, or you should be saving maybe like a year before or something, just to have that money, so you're not like, you know, freaking out when all these payments come up.
Yeah, just to add on to the whole thing about the expenses, everybody has a different story. You know, I spent a total of like $300 on the covers of not just my book, but like a couple books down the series. And then the vice versa of that, I have a couple friends that dropped $600 on their very first cover. I have another friend, I was talking to Care before we recorded, dropped $5,000 on one cover for his initial debut book. And I'll give it to him, really good looking cover. Now worth $5,000. I mean, $5,000 is about the profit margin you could expect as an indie publisher. And that's a good sale. 5,000 isn't too bad for indie press.
Yeah.
And, you know, how are you gonna overcome that profit loss, basically?
Right. Yeah, you got to sell more books. Yeah, the marketing. So yeah, I mean, that's something. It is more expensive, but that will be a later con in traditional publishing, because they have their own money scandals as well. Money is like a whole power play in any field of art. We want to say it's all about like creativity, but a lot of things do come down to money. It's business. You know, at the end of the day, we made a product, we're trying to sell it, we want people to buy it, it's a business. So you can expect money issues, money hurdles, losses, and gains throughout the entire process.
Yep. I would say, just as like an average of what profits like would be, I would say you expect anywhere between like $1,000 to $2,000 for the process of getting a book out. And it could go very much north than that, and it could go south than that as well, depending on what you do. I mean, Carolyn made a great example, $60 on an editor and then published it out. Those stories exist as well. Right.
Yeah. So again, but it's up to you. Another con for self-publishing, I think a main one is a lot of people think it's stigmatized. And that's like right there when I said a lot of people think it's stigmatized. That's a whole issue, is that it doesn't need to be stigmatized, because I mean, again, I'm biased here, but in a lot of ways, I think it's the smarter option. But it's just stigmatized because publishing houses had that for a while. Self-publishing wasn't even a thing, so you could only go to a self-publishing house, and so it was like that for the longest time. And that's kind of why they have that leverage or whatever. But nevertheless, people still think that just because you self-publish that you're not legit, or the writing's going to be poor, or that if you didn't put in as much work, when I think in a lot of ways you put in more work.
I 100% agree with that. The whole stigma of like indie published, but caveat to that, I do believe it is semi our fault. you know, not knocking Care's friend, but you know, maybe I'll spend a little more than $60 on an editor. Then again, maybe he has just a really good writer. Who knows, honestly. But a lot of it comes from our end, you know. Like if you look at the books that are being published, regardless of genre on indie publishing, not all of them are coming to bat. You look at the covers, you know, of a fantasy book, not all of them are made like Harry Potter or like Percy Jackson. They're kind of half-assed, and that's our fault. Like we have to come with it if we really want to represent for what we're doing with the indies. You have to come and really come with it, like every little aspect of it. Like maybe you have a cool cover, spend a little bit of more on the formatting too, and like the cover, like the book design itself. I mean, all those little things all add up to a final product.
And if we consistently do that, then I mean, I already think the stigmatized thing of self-publishing is kind of already on the decline. I mean, maybe, but if we can continue to keep producing like still top tier work where people can't tell the difference between self-published or traditional published, then then that con doesn't exist. I mean, eventually that'll be the norm. Self-publishing will be the norm. I
100% agree with that.
But that is a really good point, that it does fall a lot on us too. So, I mean, that's the other thing, a little advice here, take your time with it, get people's opinions, meet with the people you're connecting with, see what they think about it, friends, family, people that don't even read, ask them if they would pick up your book just by the looks of it.
That's a really good point. That's a really, really good point. Because just from a marketing standpoint, just like aesthetic wise, people like to say that they won't judge a book by its cover, but we all do that. So that's a really good point that you brought up. And also, don't be afraid to send your, you know, books to friends.
He's outing me right now. Oh my God.
I don't know what you're talking about. I was just saying in general. You know,
no, but that's me. I'm not even taking my own advice. Like I can give great advice, and then I'll send it to you. All right, this is we're moving on.
All
right, traditional publishing though. So there are pros and there are cons. One of the pros, again, is you have a team of professionals. So it's kind of like the opposite, where you don't have to you don't have to look for other people to work with. You're given a team of professionals that will help you design your book, that they know fits the market. They'll even help you market your book and know what they're doing. So it can be a nice tool, nice thing to have a team backing you up. There are some cons with that we'll go, but did you want to add anything about the pro?
No, yeah, definitely. The whole thing about having a team is, again, it's the vice versa of the con for self-publishing. Instead of it all being on your head and you stressing about all these little things, and even if you are not handling a certain aspect of yourself, but you're outsourcing it to somebody else, you still have to be on their ass. Like you have to be almost like a mini boss. Like you have to go and have like constant updates on what they're doing and making sure that it's up to date with your vision. As a traditional publishing, you're just outsourcing all that headache to another team, a team that has more experience than you, that maybe has a better vision of how to marketing it better than you do. Maybe you have a cool idea of a cover, but you know it's a little not as marketable as what they could be, as what it could be. So there's a whole bunch of things that come with it, and if I would say that's the best the best pro of traditional publishing ever. I mean, if there was a button for that any self-publishing can hit with that, I think we would all hit it. Yeah,
it does save you that headache. Like, and because those people within that, you know, publishing house, there's one set of team for editing, one set of team for the illustrations, one for the design. So they all get to divvy up that work and just focus on that. Whereas self-publishing, you're balancing pretty much all of that at once, or at least like multiple things at once, which is maybe why people skimp over some things, because they're scattered. So they don't even realize that they're doing it until it's complete. So it is nice to have that team that, you know, knows what they're doing and takes their time with it, and they're fully focused for the most part. I mean, and with that, because they know what they're doing, or, you know, so we'd hope, but that they have more experience, they're more professionals. One of the other pros is that typically traditional books, they sell more than you might, sell more books. But AR, I just combined your name, AR Mirabal. You had a fun point about that. What was last year's Amazon?
So the best-selling author of Amazon last year wasn't Stephen King, it wasn't James Patterson, it wasn't Dean Koontz or whatever how you pronounce his name. It was a random guy knocking out like 100,000 words a month on Kindle Unlimited, and he was actually the highest paid author of Amazon last year. Now that doesn't include all the marketing stuff that and all the like book deals and movie deals that Stephen King has. So as far as actual money, but as far as Amazon profits, an indie publisher took that crown last year. Now, the reason being for that was because, again, royalties. Stephen King might knock out 8 million copies, but what royalties is he getting from his publishing house? Whereas this indie publishing is getting 70% of that shit.
But I do want to add on too that even traditional publishers, they're not all Stephen King's either. Stephen King is Stephen King. Just because you are a traditional publisher, I mean, yeah, you might sell more books just because record-wise or history-wise, that's how it's been. But that doesn't mean they're all getting movie deals. And just because you do traditional publishing, that your book is going to be #1 bestseller on this list and that list. Like, they both do take those gambles because it's really just a matter of what people want to read and what people buy. And I'm sure it does come down to marketing too. But yeah, just typically there's that to think about. Your book might sell more, but like we said, you get more royalties with self-publishing. So one book might sell more, but you still might make more money if you self-publish because you get more royalties. I don't know, things to think about, like money versus views.
Yeah. And again, this might be a little bit biased, and obviously, I mean, like a lot of it's going to be biased if we're both self-publishing. But I mean, if this is the time for you to be really artistic. When a traditional publishing house is going to market your book, they're going to market it. Let's say that you have a science fiction book. They're going to market it like prior science fiction books. They're just going to go by whatever formula is profitable to them. If you're really artistic and maybe you have like an idea to like, I don't even know what to just do something out of the box, you could just by yourself sell more than you would have when you were traditional published. I mean, this is your time to be creative, your time to just, again, it's on you. So like there's that cons of it, but like the pros of it is that like if you really go for it, it's all on you. Even the marketing, everything about it, it's all on you. It can really be your benefit if you choose it to be.
The other pro off that, maybe traditional books sell more because of this pro, but traditional publishing isn't as stigmatized as self-publishing. That might be another obvious one. Although in my own opinion, now when I hear traditional publishing, it actually leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Does. So I am stigmatizing it. So I don't know how true this pro really is. Maybe that's just like an indie author versus like traditional author kind of beef.
Yeah, gang sign type shit. But like,
right.
I don't know. It's an interesting concept because like the only way that I would feel someone like I'm impressed by someone telling me that they just got traditionally published was if they told me Scholastic, Tor, if Dark Horse picked up their shit, I'd be like, okay, wow. But anything other than that, it's kind of like, all right, so you like waited a long ass time until like an agent said okay. Right. Like, and again, like I don't, I didn't even go down that route. So like I can't really talk too much shit about it. But like I think the biggest stigma around that is that people really almost wait for that. Like they want the writing to be validated by another person coming in and being like, hey, you know what? This is actually not too bad. You can quit your job now. But like, again, it's the mental aspect. You have to believe in yourself and like believe in your work and like believe that you're at that point. And not everybody's at that point immediately. Maybe you do have to, struggle at your job for a couple of years. But when you get to that point, you'll know it. And you got to make that leap of faith. You just got to. Yeah. Yeah. It is a matter of, I guess, believing in yourself. Believe in yourself. Yeah, that's like a good theme right now for this episode. Self-publish or traditional publish or believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. Yeah, I think that's like that's so far it's not stigmatized. So far. There are cons to it then, of course, in case you can't tell, we were kind of hinting at a lot of cons throughout. Well, number one, actually, you brought up one of the cons that you said you're waiting for an agent to pick up on it. So you might go through all this work and hire or like have this team of people working on it, but then
someone still might not ever pick it up, or you're waiting like 3+ years, whereas if you self-publish, you decide when it's out. But if you traditional publish, you have to wait, for someone to be like, oh, okay, it's good enough, and then pitch it, and then market it. And it's a much longer process if it even gets picked up at all. And that's such a horrible feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, to what, like, I would start thinking, 3 years, because I think that's actually the median time that traditional publishers wait after they finish their book, like, completely. It's typically 3 years that they wait. That's what my editor told me, until somebody decides, to pick it up, till enough people see it and review it. And I would just feel so defeated at that point. A lot of self-hate, I think, would come out of that. So I don't think, I feel like there's a lot more like depressingness with traditional publishing, because self-publishing, you got to keep pushing yourself. You are your biggest motivator, and you are your also biggest setback. But when that shame is coming from somebody else, I feel like, I don't know, it hits different. I don't like it.
No, I mean, I agree 100%. And not only that, but like, you have to think about things, how they actually are. Like, you know how humans are. You, in your head, you're going to send your manuscript out. It's going to get there Monday. The person's going to read it. They're going to have their little tea with their glasses down. They're going to read it like, oh, well, that's not how it works. They're going to have a fight with their wife the day before. They're going to go to their office, and whatever's on their office, fuck it, boom. And they're just going to, take out the cognac and then work tomorrow. And whatever happened on that day, whatever. And they'll just pick up their work tomorrow. And then think about that. Your life's work is now just like on the whim of a person. Like, humans are fickle.
Yeah.
Like,
definitely.
why
That's
leave
such
that
a
to
point.
chance?
Like, just because someone else had a bad day, your book might not ever see the light. Like, that's
Ever.
just not fair to you and your creative work. That's so, why can one person, especially like you said, if they're not like a major named house already with that prestige, like, let alone, why are they going to tell me when or what I can and can't publish? What makes them better than me? Nothing.
Yeah. And that leans into the second point, which is you lose creative control.
Yeah.
Which is
that one's
major, you know?
Exactly. Writing a book is literally all about being creative. It's an art. Like, writing is an art. And you lose that creative controls, because, again, those people that do pick up on your book, they're banking on you, literally taking a gamble on you to make money. So they're going to do things that they think would sell better, whether it's change the cover, change the title, even change the ending of your book.
Yeah.
They can change your work, and you don't get the say in that. You might think, oh, well, I'm the author, I can do it. Yeah, you'd think, but like, they don't care. For them, it's solely money. At least indie publishing, I think, kind of still keeps that creativeness alive, that like little bit of you that's in your book. It's not completely a business. It is an art that we're doing as well.
100%. And not to say that we shouldn't treat it like a business, because it is. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's
right.
On you, indie publishing. But without a doubt, it's an art. We're artists at the end of the day. Imagine you write a scene that you're really passionate about, that the character goes through one little thing that, maybe might be some crazy PC, or maybe you wrote it in a way to make people uncomfortable. One of those type of scenes, like like somebody could say, oh, that's like really weird. It's like, yeah, that's the point. And like, that situation is weird. That's like the point. That's the emotion I'm trying to convey. And a publisher or a person that's like looking at it from a profit point of view could easily come in and be like, hey, listen, cool idea, buddy, but we're going to take that out because people, could put the book down and try to sue us and XYZ and all those things. And
right.
You don't want that. You want to be able to put your vision out there with no doubt. And not to say that like you're just going to be perfect. There are such things as developmental editors for a reason. Not everything you think of is going to be perfect, but there are certain things that you, again, which is why it's awesome that you, again, a little bias here, but it's why it's awesome that you can, for indie publishing, when you have an editor, you can veto their edits. Yeah. When you traditionally publish, there is no vetoing. It is what they want.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a fun thing too. When you're self-publishing and you hire an editor, you're kind of their boss. They're not your boss. Yeah. I mean, take consideration to their edits, because I'm sure they know what they're doing, obviously, but
and be respectful and whatnot. No reason to be like, hey, yo, bitch, come here. What I tell you about M dashes?
But it is cool. I've never been the boss of someone like that.
Yeah. No, but
the other con though is did it kind of like similar to the two other cons, but we mentioned it earlier, the money gambles. People will, and I want to make sure I word this right. So there, you get less profit with traditional publishing because basically the people that helped you with the design and the publishing and the editing and all of that, they're putting their hand in your pocket and taking some of your royalties because in a way you owe them. I mean, you do owe them, they did work for you, so they take it from your royalties. Other times
we're talking like 5% sometimes. That's how low royalties can get on an author's side. You wrote the
yeah,
pitch.
like they'll
You're
take so much where you only make 5 to 10. They're not only taking 5 to 10. Yeah. Other times, but I thought you said something. Other times they'll give you a loan. And if your book doesn't sell, if you don't make enough money to pay them or for them to basically break even or make their money back, then you pay them back out of pocket. So
yeah,
again, it comes down to the money.
Underline exclamation point on that. So run that scenario by. You think you're hot shit, you got a really cool book, and I'm sure it is a good book, right? They give you a $50,000 advance for the book, put it right in your pocket. You go and get a nice little car immediately. You drop $40,000 on it, right? You think
right.
Book sells $25,000 though. So now you owe 15. Where are you getting 15 from, guy?
Right.
That's a hard life.
So it is hard. So it's especially if they give you that much money up front, like I'm sure that mentality, like you'd get rose-colored glasses and you'd think, oh yeah, my book's gonna sell. Like, I had this whole team backing me up.
You get a house. You get a house.
Right. Oh my God. That's like not how it's gonna go. I mean, just because they give you this money and people are taking a gamble on you or a chance on you, that's what it is. It's a gamble. You just don't know. Just like I said, just because you're a traditional publisher doesn't make you a Stephen King. So people can get very hot-headed when it comes to traditional publishing as well and make those same monetary mistakes. So self-publishing, it's more money up front, more money in the long run. Traditional publishing, probably less money up front, but usually more money in the long run. Did I say that right? Or did they flip it? I don't know. You're spending more money in the long run or you're losing more money.
You spend more money up front with self-publishing because obviously you're self-publishing it, you're paying. When you do traditional publishing, for the most part, like if you go through an esteemed publishing house, there are vintage houses that kind of go half and half on you, but that's an entire other video. And I actually do want to talk about that because I think those are really predatory, and I think those should be really avoided unless you find like a really reputable one.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, they'll do the same thing that traditional publishing houses will do, and you got to pay for it. I mean, the whole cool thing about traditional publishing is that you have to pay nothing. You have a manuscript, you type it out for free on Word, you send it out to these people, and they buy it from you. Everything on the production side of it is on their end. You pay nothing, with the caveat that if it works out, then you pay no investment and get money. But if it craps out, you have all that money that they gave you as an advance. Self-publishing is that it's an upfront cost that will most likely will at least break even over the course of the book selling, and then even after that point, we'll still give you maybe $10-15 every here and here. So it's things that just it's a difference of opinion. And if you do it well, the profits are significantly higher.
Exactly. It's all about money management.
Higher. Exactly. And thinking about it like it is a business, because it is. This is a business. And for as much as we wanted to just be creative, and believe me, I wish it was just creative.
I know.
You got to treat this like it is a money game. It is a money game.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but to each their own, because self-publishing, you have that option. I mean, I don't know. So I went with self-publishing because I liked being in control. I liked having it fall on me. I trust me. I know my vision for my book, and I don't want to rely on anybody else. So that's why I did it for me. Like we said in our dedication page, it's dedicated to me, from me, by me. And that's it.
With your signature at the bottom, written wrong, because you can do that.
Yeah.
You don't have enough time to write it right. But no, again, 100% thing. I mean, even when I gave it off to my editors and there were people like telling me that I should put it to the traditional, I rather stick with the indie because I don't want anyone to come in and be like, oh yeah, you know what? You actually don't need all those graphics in your book. Screw off. I want them in my book. That's how I envisioned it when I thought of it 7 years ago. And that's how it's gonna be when it's released. And I'm happy to say, at least the ebook version of that is to that vision. So like I can tell you from personal experience. So she's agreeing with you too. Is from personal experience, that type of thing is possible. You can have a vision, you can execute it, and you can do it. And it doesn't have to break the bank either. And we'll definitely have other episodes that go into that and how to be a little bit more money frugal when it comes to this shit. Because there are definitely routes that you can go and break the bank on a book. I can tell you my figure happily is $14.50, I believe, including a little bit of marketing. Not too bad.
No, not at all.
All the illustrations, that's an editor, for everything. Not too bad. I know people that have spent $2,500 easy, like no problem.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Mine, well, $1,400. I'm $2,100, so it's about $800 more. But like that's again in the long scheme of things, $800 is not a lot of money. I mean, like it's not really. So yeah, and that was my choice. I mean, that's the main part, and the fact that it's going to go out there. The other reason I self-published was because the fear of that somebody's not even going to pick it up. I didn't fucking want to do that. I put so much work into it and you're going to tell me it might not even make it to market. Like, I think not.
Exactly.
So those are the pros and cons of self-publishing and traditional publishing. Take with it what you will. Feel free to do your own research because maybe we didn't do enough justice for the pros with traditional publishing. But again, it's your choice.
I actually would love to hear like the comments. I mean, like that. We'll put this on you. Where would you go if you had like the choice of self-publishing or traditional? We probably made a really strong case for one, and I'd assume that a lot of the answers are going to lean towards that side based on this video. But if you are traditionally published, defend. Stand up for your shit. What's up? Rep your block.
Yeah. Like educate us too.
Yeah, educate me. I don't know anything. What do I know? I'm 26 years old.
We didn't go that route, so we don't know. But just do your own research too. Don't take this podcast and run with it. Little disclaimer: we are not held responsible for the breakage of your bank. So, but it's up to you. Do what fits your budget, what fits you best. Sometimes you want to self-publish, and maybe you feel like you have to traditional publish because of money reasons. I don't know. Everybody has their own thing. So tell us in the comments. This has been Authors Anonymous.
The podcast. I have been Mirabal. She has been Carolyn Rosa Potts. and we will catch you next Tuesday for our next episode. And most likely we are going to be debuting our tipsy plot workshop. Tipsy talk. We'll see you then. Peace out.
Yes.
Carolyn, say bye to the folks.
Bye.
Bye.